Bismillah ar-Rahman Rahim. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back to another episode of the Data Heroes podcast. I'm your host Abu Bakar Alvi. Today we have a guest joining us from Paris. His name is Alexandru Badiu. Those who are familiar with data visualization in Power BI, they know the name very well. Alex has been a very frequent contributor on the Enterprise DNA channel, and now he frequently posts on LinkedIn and he has a blog of his own. He is one of the top data storytelling and data visualization experts in the world. So, without wasting any time, let's go and talk to Alexander Badiu. Hi, Alex. How are you?
Hello, I'm great. How are you, Abu?
I'm good. Thank you very much. Thank you, Alex, for coming. And it's the first time that we are talking, and we have had a very long history of conversations on the Adna platform as well as on LinkedIn. But finally, I've got hold of you today. So thank you very much for taking time out and joining me on my podcast.
Thank you for inviting me. It's an honor.
So I'll start with a little background. So I know you are from Romania and you are working in Paris. So just tell me about your briefly about your background. Where were you born and your education and some of the earlier professional work that you did and how you moved from Romania to Paris or maybe you were working in some other places. So just walk us briefly through your entire educational and life.
Okay, so yeah, as you said, I was born in Romania and in the eastern part of the country near the Black Sea, and I finalized my studies in Bucharest, and now the crisis came in 2009, 2008, and I wanted to pursue my studies. So I wanted to do an MBA or a master's, and I applied in multiple countries, and I was accepted in Paris in one of the best universities that were at that time for mathematics. So I was studying mathematics and finance, and I got accepted in Paris. I did my studies and then internships. One of the first internships I did was at IBM. So they were introducing something that was called cloud that no one knew what it was. So it was very nice to discover, the beginnings, the cloud. And yeah, and then I met my wife, and I remained in Paris.
All right, all right. So, it's a very interesting story. I actually just knew that you have a history of, working in Paris, and before that you were in Romania. But this is something I never knew about. So, staying on the topic of education. So, you completed your education in mathematics and finance, and then obviously you would have started your professional career or your job in the same area. Then how it kind of pivoted to something where it became more and more related to data analytics, data storytelling, visualization. So how this transition happened? Was it related to some kind of your job role, or was it your own interest? So tell us something about that.
Well, I think there were multiple episodes, in the sense that when I was in high school, still in Romania, and I was doing mathematics, but also informatics, I was already starting to create reports. At that time, I was using Flash, which was an animation tool that disappeared since then, but it was really nice. I really enjoyed spending time to understand and to know how to do things. So there were much less information on the internet than now, so it was like 6 months just to create a button at that time, and it was a big a big victory. So you learn, to be patient and to continuously learn things, and I really enjoy it. But I didn't know what to do, and I didn't see myself in informatics. So I studied finance. I concentrated on finance and also statistics. Um, And when I came in France, also mathematics and finance, um, and I was preparing to, and I really started my career in finance. So I started in controlling, and I really enjoyed that because I was participating to business games, and there was one that was organized by PricewaterhouseCoopers in France, and I was qualified up to the demifinals. So basically, we had to have an Excel file and create all the, parameters, and based on the decisions of each one of the competitors, take decisions very fast. So I really enjoy that, something that is vivid, something that is on analysis. So I will always had this analysis part. And then when I started to work, well, it was not really like that. It was very repetitive. It was very Excel every day. And in 6 months, I replaced three people because I was automating Excel and I was automating everything I could. And and I think I also had a bit of chance because I was in oil and gas, big company, and there was a crisis at that time. And when there is a crisis in oil and gas companies invest in digitalization. And I was very early on in contact with startups and companies, and being introduced to Scrum and Kanban, and simplification of tools, of methods, and that's how I know I managed to find also inside Excel at that time, because it was really early on when I started to use Power BI. Um, and yeah, that's how it started. And with Power BI, I really found, but it was not really prepared, but I really found what I liked before, by creating reports and visualizations, but with a big concentration on analysis and on value, and finding and on project management and governance, because you need to identify the good uh, report that will have the biggest impact on people and on their work. So I was really interested by all these topics, not only visualization, not only analysis. Yeah.
Yeah, very interesting. So it all started with finance, and then you became good at Excel, and then you kind of started experimenting with Excel, and then slowly you moved from Excel to Power BI, and then obviously then Power BI, and now you are doing a lot of work in the overall Microsoft Power Platform using all the other tools, Power Apps, and Power Automate. So I'm going to come to that. So I'll again go back a few years. So when COVID came, when COVID hit in late 2019 and early 2020, then a lot of people actually got some time to actually experiment with a lot of things, because there was lockdown in all the major capitals, or almost all the major countries, in fact. So my first interaction with you was at the start of the COVID period. So it was early 2020, somewhere like I would say first half of 2020. So, and that was on the enterprise DNA forum and the enterprise DNA challenges. So just talk us about the period where you started participating. So were you all already doing learning on the enterprise DNA platform, or was it something that you started mainly in the COVID times? And then how come the journey actually, which started with participating in the challenges, you took it to a next level, where now all the data storytelling people, or all the data storytelling community, they kind of treat you as, and Federico like said, the big boys. So so you are like the kind of the big boy of one of the big boys of the data storytelling. So just talk us about how that actually began, and how it actually progressed at that time.
Well, as you said, in when the COVID started, I started to participate more and more into the Etna community. I knew Sam from the beginning because he was one of the first who created content on YouTube, with GynaCube and Curbel. And I really appreciated his way of creating reports in a visual way, especially finance reports, which were very impressive to me. And I wanted to contact more because I think at least for me, learning with others is something that I really appreciate. I think the collective intelligence is always higher than the individual intelligence, and you will always have people that have other experience than yourself. So it really expands your mind, and on the forum with the questions, and on the Edna with the challenges. Those challenges were really hard. I mean, the you had to do clean the data, learn about the data, do research. So it was really interesting, and I started participating with the third challenge. I wanted to participate with the second challenge, but I found that my reports was really not good. Like, I was not really satisfied, so I said I will participate to the third one. But to the third one, I was in vacation, and I had only 1 hour and a half of battery on my computer, and I said, okay, 1 hour and a half, I'll do it in 1 hour and a half, and I did it. Um, and it was people started to appreciate it, so I was you know motivated by that, so to continue. And starting the fourth participation, I started to win the challenge. That was my first win, and then I had other two wins, and I got invited to the Edna experts chat, and that chat was really crazy. People writing all the time, uh, always having something interesting to discuss. So that was really nice. That was something that I really appreciated.
Yeah, you talked about the enterprise DNA challenge. I think if my memory serves me well, I think that the first challenge I think you are talking about was the one that was the logistics challenge, where you actually had this big I think truck on the front page of the report. I think that was the one, or maybe I'm mixing it, but obviously I was I think I was talking to Brian some time back, and we were discussing the Adna challenges, and I think that was your entries, kind of changed the way people started looking at Power BI report development, the kind of report, the data storytelling element you introduced, and then Mudassar was very quick to pick it up, and he created some amazing reports, and then after a few challenges, then Gusta came, and then there were so many others, David Johnston, obviously, then Federico Pastor, a lot of people, and obviously I was also participating, and I was learning Power BI, or transitioning to Power BI, you can say, because I had been doing data analysis, but it was in a very different context and very different kind of tools, but not a BI tool, more like some kind of offline analysis. So I can obviously relate to a lot of stuff that all of these people, and especially you were doing, and then that forum was a very great place where people, they were giving feedback on the reports of all the participants. So it was a very good learning community, and obviously COVID, kind of brought everyone together, because everyone was had time, because nobody was traveling and stuff like that. But again, let me just ask a few things more about your data storytelling. So I could see, and everybody else could see, that you have a very different way of actually curating or creating stuff that you put on the Power BI report. But were you, kind of reading anything? Were you inspired by anyone? Were you experimenting on your own, some kind of data art kind of things, or infographics? So where did that inspiration actually come? So just tell us about what that whole process was, and then obviously you got a chance to develop a very good data storytelling course as well. I think one of the best courses on that platform. A lot of people have actually watched that. So just talk us about the whole data storytelling inspiration, and the journey within the Adna community, and within all the period where it started from the challenges and ended up you being creating one of the data storytelling courses.
Yeah, sure. So yeah, what I can say is that I had, I think I was not really impacted by the tool. I never like, when you use Power BI, you have some limitations, and sometimes those limitations starts to be integrated in your mind and in the way you develop things. And I think I was not really focusing on the limitation on the tool, but on what I wanted to create. And in time, with the development of the tool, those things started to be possible. Um, before Edna, and before the community, for 2 years I worked with Alteryx and Tableau. So for 2 years I didn't use Power BI, and I think that the community of Tableau at that time was much more into storytelling and details. And you had Makeover Monday and Tip Tuesday and Workout Wednesday. They were like everyday things, and I was participating to that as well. And in the community of Tableau, also there are some people that are really, really, into the data art. But I was not really focusing on data art either, because what I wanted to do is things that can be implemented in companies as well, like in professional work, and create something that is really effective in the message that's being sent. And I think I was in research of a balance between what is aesthetically pleasing and what is from the analytical part is really advanced, and create value for the users. But yeah, I think it was that. And in high school with Flash, you were studying with a blank canvas, but that tool was for animation. So the same, you could create anything you wanted. There were other limitations compared to Power BI today. So I think, yeah, the first barrier, don't think about limitations, and the second, I was concentrating on details, like small details, and spend a lot of time thinking about, are those things that I'm putting on the screen useful or not? Are they redundant or not? And from everyone and your reports and others' reports, I was looking for small details that I thought that I can implement in my reports as well. So I gained experience also from the experience of the community in the same time. But people don't realize it because they see it in a different way. And yeah, I think it's more on the how I see things, and I think it can be a bit different than other ones.
Yeah, I think you made a great point. So actually, people just see what you actually build, but obviously there is a lot of thought process that goes into developing any report, and especially if you're working to create reports in everyday life. But doing it in a challenge, you have that flexibility, you have the room to experiment, but not possible once you are working in a real world business. And I've actually listened to a lot of your course. I've kind of took that course, and I also read some of the stuff that you post. So what I feel, and maybe it's just my observation, and maybe you can correct that you always have this element of actionability. Like you always kind of try to communicate this point that, okay, storytelling is obviously important, but it should lead to some kind of an action. Like whatever is being presented, it should not be just presented as some kind of a story. The story should always lead to an action, which is very important. And I think a lot of people who actually read about the storytelling books, they tend to agree that if without the call to action, your visualization is just nothing. Maybe it's a good way of presenting information, or maybe it just is pleasing to have to look at. But without any actionability, or without any call to action, I think it doesn't serve the purpose. So my question would be that how you actually ensure, while you are going through the design phase of any report, that how you actually kind of create it on a canvas. Like what are the key factors that you take into account? Either you start from, some people start from the end goal, and they try to go backwards. Some people, they follow the process. So what is your process? Just for our knowledge, just share that whole thought process, and how do you actually convert that thought process onto the Power BI canvas.
Yeah, so yeah, when I create a report, I never start with Power BI. I always talk with people, and try to understand what are the problems, not what they want me to build or my teams to build, but what their struggles, what their the problems. And usually it's about automation and also analysis or taking decisions. Those are the ones with the largest ROI. And when I start working on the report, I'm always going deep inside the data. So I'm dicing and slicing the data everywhere. I'm always using tables and matrices because I want to validate the data. And I'm never thinking about design in the beginning because the design should be influenced by the analysis, and based on what analysis I want to push forward, that will direct me and will give me ideas of how I'll present the data. And usually there are a lot of things, right? We find in the data, but you can confirm, like you can ask questions, you can investigate. You're a bit like like a detective. You're looking at what are the highlights of the data. You are trying to ask questions to yourself, and then once you have that, and you recreate all this story in your mind, you're thinking about the user journey, like in which order people will have questions. Like first they will have this question, then they will have that other question. And then who are the people, who are the end users that will use your report? Because not everyone is the same, right? Some people want to start directly with the solutions because they don't want to spend time. Because we always think that we should demonstrate and show facts, and then at the end the recommendations. But some people they don't have time and they want directly, we need to go there, and in order to achieve that we need to do this and that and that. So you need to adapt on who is your target audience and how is their personality, and create also the personas. But of course you need to know exactly your data, and then once you have all this data and you don't commit to a design, because this is there are studies as well. When you start a report and you start already, okay, I'm gonna put the KPIs on top, the menu on the left, then I'm gonna do, I don't know, in a template, for example, two charts, etc. This already limits you in the analysis that you present. Maybe you should not show the data like that. It's good to have them, the templates, but you need to decide which template to use or how to use them once you have all the questions and all the analysis in place. So yeah, it's a lot of work that is not being seen when you create reports, and usually many people can consider reports as beautiful, aesthetic, but not necessarily the deep analysis and the order of analysis that you can show.
Yeah, I think very some very great points. I think this is obviously the audience is the audience for whom you are creating the report. That is, I think, the most important bit. And then not limiting yourself to a fixed kind of a template that okay, you are going to put the KPIs on the top and then the menu on the left, and then some area on the in the center. The best principles of report design you should follow in terms of the storytelling, in terms of the spacing, in terms of the colors, all of that, but you should not be limiting your thought process, and you should basically try to create a report based on who the audience is and then what the data is actually all about. So that is probably the two big things that actually a data analyst should like put on top, and then rest of the things they actually just come that are there to actually create that whole experience. So some very interesting the things, Alex, you mentioned. So I'll stay on the same topic, but I'll go from the storytelling to the automation bit now. So I know that you have been experimented with the Power Platform, especially Power Apps and Power Automate, for I think couple of years now. So just talk us through how important these two tools in terms of the automation and how the digitization or the digitalization of any organization are, and what have been your main interest, what explorations you have done in this area.
Yeah, I think we all know that Power BI is part of the Power Platform. So with Power Apps and Power Automate, And also we know that Power BI is part of Fabric. So those are two universes that are combining today. So we know that there are a lot of flexibility with this. We have the best tools for different things. We have Power Automate for automation. We have Power Apps for apps, and we have Power BI for visualization. I think together they are very, very powerful in the sense that you can use not only Power Apps to create apps in Power BI to create Power BI, but you can create Power Apps to create processes, to automate processes with Power Automate that is embedded, that will create also data. And you can have also Power BI that will be on top on that and do reporting for different audiences. So that I think is next level because you don't answer only the needs of one persona or one target audience. You are answering the needs of different people at different times and create, a whole process from A to Z. So it's very powerful. And if you think also about scaling in terms of Power BI, because that's how it started for me. I wanted to scale the reports and I wanted to share it with 500 people or more. Uh, Financial KPI, financial data, very sensitive. So RLS and etc. Everything. And I realized it takes a lot of time to add people and monitor and do a management of these accesses and request validations for these accesses before implementing them. Also in an international, you know, uh, international framework. So so I thought about creating a sort of catalog inside Power Apps, and in that catalog, you can see which reports exist, reports or Power Apps. You can click, you can see who is the target, when it was built, who is the audience, some print screens of the report, and do you want to request access or not. Once you request access inside Power Apps, there's a Power Automate that is being launched, and that Power Automate will know who you are, will know who is your N+1, will send a validation, and once that validation will be done, it will put you in the right security group. And like that, you will have access to the report without putting, the teams of BI or myself into this thing, because at the end of the day, you spend more time managing accesses than creating reports. So I think this is not the target. And yeah, and like that, you can really, really scale and also provide visibility, etc. Also, I created Power Apps where you can validate and integrate, upload files and put signatures. And then I can see the process inside Power BI and see who did or did not respect the deadlines. And you can send reminders directly from Power BI with a Power Automate embedded inside Power BI. And to go even further, you can do a Power Automate that will not allow you to send more than 2 reminders per day, because then you will start spamming people. So this is not productive either. So if you think like that, you can have 1, 2 applications, 7, 8 Power Automate, 2, 3 Power BI reports at different levels to different people. So it's really, really powerful. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you made a very good point, Alex, here, because there has been like you kind of mentioned a few minutes back that you had worked in Tableau and Alteryx. So a lot of people have coming from the Tableau space or who have worked in the Tableau, they have a lot of the reservations about some of the visualization capabilities that Power BI has versus Tableau. And obviously, a lot of people who have worked in Tableau, they know that Tableau is far ahead in terms of the visualization thing. But where Power BI actually gets the edge is the end-to-end ecosystem in which you are working. So the kind of inherent integration that you have of creating an app, like you have given examples, kind of automation that you do just by using Power Automate, and then all of the integration is inherent. You don't have to go and have to buy any third party solution or any of that. So because of that, the some of the limitations that we have in Power BI, those are kind of overlooked, and people are, they kind of are happy to work within Power BI, because they would say that, okay, I can create these visualizations. Maybe they are not as great as Tableau, but look at all the other features that are, that are coming by just being a part of this Power Platform ecosystem. So I think you have given some very good examples, and also I know personally that you have been learning Synapse, Azure Synapse, and then obviously now Azure Synapse has kind of changed to Microsoft Fabric. So all of the tools are kind of, they have like the functionality is the same. Some of the things are new, but it's kind of a new label that Microsoft Fabric has kind of enclosed everything inside of that. So just talk me about that part where, you are not a computer scientist or somebody who's a IT graduate. So Fabric or Azure Synapse requires some kind of high level programming knowledge, and you need to learn Python. So talk us about that part of your journey. How difficult was that, and how you have been using that part in your day to day work?
Well, I think you are right. Synapse and Fabric, those are like very big topics, and we are entering the world of data engineering and data science. But it's really important to understand how these pieces work together, and also have the overall understanding of all the topics. In my daily life, I'm a project director, so I'm usually in charge of those projects, and I manage data engineers and data scientists and data analysts and other data Power BI developers. So for me, it's very important to know to discuss with them on the same language. Maybe I will not do the Python myself, and I was not doing it myself in Synapse, but I could understand it and read it, and I knew what are the steps to be done to be developed in a clean and professional way. And I think Fabric, and this is one of the things that I think it's really interesting with Fabric, is that everything is simplified in a way that gives you the possibility, even if you are not a data engineer, even if you are not a data scientist, to start learning, do some things by yourself, and when they are complicated, to ask for others. So data pipelines. Now you can use data flows and the data lake, the delta. So these are things that you can learn quite fast, and even Spark. It's really not difficult if you know SQL, if you know DAX, but especially SQL. You can really help yourself and do things. And even the tools, Data Wrangler that they integrated, so, and the copilots everywhere. So everything is making your life easier and easier. So you just have to have a bit of confidence and start learning and start putting in practice, and you will see that you can do a lot of things that you couldn't do before. And I think the time to data analysis, time to project is really reduced. So it's really interesting to see how it goes, and I'm also interested by all the by the whole scope, like also Power Apps and Power Automate, with Dataverse and the shortcuts and everything, because usually, for at least from what I saw here in France, is that usually people are divided by Power BI or Power Apps. There are not so many people who are Power Apps, Power Automate, and Power BI in the same time. So I think it's something about an equilibrium. I think you should not be like the expert everywhere on everything, but knowing how everything works, and to realize who are the good resources to help you. I think this is the secret for a successful project.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with all of these observations. I think it is very important to know all these things. So I'll pick up, a line again from I think from one of the talks that Brian gave, and I think he talks about that T learning philosophy, where if you look at the alphabet T. So you should be good. You should have in-depth knowledge in a couple of areas, but you should have the width and breadth of the horizontal part of T, where you should know things at a higher level so that you can interact with people, you can work in a team environment. And I think you have kind of highlighted the same. So your strength was number crunching, because coming from a financial background, so analytics, Power BI was a strong area. Then your creativity took you from Power BI to Power Apps and Power Automate. But it is also important that as you grow in your career, that you know about the whole ecosystem. So knowing Synapse or Fabric is just knowing the whole end-to-end analytics ecosystem. And then obviously you mentioned co-pilots are there, so the learning has become, I would say, a lot easier in terms of do you have an assistant always available that is able to guide you, although there are still things that you should be careful about. Not everything that assistant tells you is okay, but still the time for experimentation and time for learning has been reduced, I think, with the advent of these autopilots and chat GPTs. So staying on the same thing, Alex, what do you think in terms of the impact AI is going to have on this field? Like how do you see that? Like how AI is going to impact the whole data analytics ecosystem? I know that a lot of integrations within the Microsoft ecosystem are now available. You can, within Fabric, you can use the OpenAI libraries on Azure, and obviously the co-pilots are already there. So how do you see this whole ecosystem flourishing, maybe in 2 years, 3, 4, 5 years?
Yeah, I think personally, I think it's a very big deal. All these copilots and generative AI. It's something that will stay, and it's something that evolves a lot, very, very fast. And I think from the internet that really spread out very fast. I think we are in a period where we know it will be a big thing. We don't know exactly how it will be used everywhere, but for me it's a very good period because, and as you said, we are not there are no experts on Fabric. There are no experts on IA, like to implement today. Everything is new. So if you start learning now, you will have experience. You'll be one of the first to be ready to work with methodologies that will be used in the future and requested in the future. The learning is much easier. They have very good resources for free, which was not the case until now. Or until now, you had to pay to do some very good trainings, uh, and it's normal. No, we are used to, you can have like free content, but you should decide what is good and what is not good. But now what Microsoft puts in place is a very structured and in order training, with labs and everything for you to get started. So for me, this is like the beginning of a new era, and I think in the future we'll all, like, I think we already started to use it like every day. Yeah, with ChatGPT and the 4. I'm preparing now the DP600 exam. I'm creating my own GPT, to propose to myself questions so that I can learn. It's really interesting, and yeah, who knows where it will stop. But I think it will not stop very soon. We are just at the beginning.
Yeah, yeah, most definitely. I think with all the AI coming, and the speed at which the Microsoft, just even within the Microsoft ecosystem, the way that these co-pilots are being introduced every, I think, few weeks, there is one feature related to Copilot that is being added in the Fabric ecosystem. Also, Power Automate. I think now Power Automate is probably one of the best co-pilots that I have seen. Like I think you can literally learn Power Automate by just playing with the co-pilot that is there in the Power Automate. So very powerful features. All the other tools as well. Tableau has recently introduced, I think, a very powerful feature in where they're using a co-pilot kind of functionality. So a lot of these tools are offering all these functionality. And again, I would totally agree that nobody knows where it's all going to end up, but the future holds a lot of promise. So I think I'll have one last question for you, Alex, and that is, how do you see yourself? Like, you have talked about your journey where you started, moving from Romania, coming to France, and then growing your career here. How do you see yourself now? Because now you know so many things, and you talked about that there are no experts as such. Like, there are experts, but very few people, like, considering the size of the market, very
Yeah.
few people who understand all of these topics and all of these topics very well, and who have done hands-on work. So where do you see yourself? Like, you see yourself working in a job in 6 year, in 6 months, 1 year, 2 year, or probably maybe the next big thing coming, where Alex is working as a having his own company or working as a consultant. So just your own views about that. I know it's something very personal, but are you thinking on something on those lines, or what are the prospects? Let me put it that way, probably, so you don't have to give a concrete answer. So is that on the agenda, or is that feasible? Something on that line.
Yeah, I mean, I think that everything is possible in the future. Like in analysis, I don't put any any limitation. Um, for me, what is important is to continue learning, experimenting, and having the best experience that I can have that can help me progress, not only on my spare time where I'm learning and doing all kind of experiments and reports, but also in my daily job. So I'm interested in projects that are uh, challenging, that are big, that are very specific, and that push the boundaries of what we are expected to do. So these experiences help us progress. So I'm interested in continuing doing that. Then in the future, having my own consultancy, yeah, why not? Why not? This can be also a very interesting possibility. Riskier, I think. Uh, but yeah, for now, I'm a project director and having teams and working for big multinational companies, and I have the possibility also to test and learn fabric. So that's what I like and what I do for now. But I think what is important to say is that I always do things that make me feel good, like in the sense that I like to take pleasure of working. I never say it's Sunday night or it's Sunday night and tomorrow I'll go to work. I go to work because I like to go to work, and I really, and I was even joking with my wife, if we gain at Lotto, like the big prize, I think I would not stop working because I like doing that.
Yeah, I think that's the main thing, that if you're enjoying your work and if you like to work, then I think nothing like that. And doesn't matter if you're working in a job or you're working as a consultant or you're doing your own thing. I think it's the bottom line is that you should do it for your own learning and enjoying it at the same time. So if you have this kind of a combination where you are learning and you are enjoying it, then nothing like that. So thank you very much, Alex, for the time. I think we have been talking for like close to 45 minutes. I think you have covered a lot of things, and especially for the people who are like entering this field as a starting off as a data analyst or BI developer. I think Alex has given some really good insights into how you can work, and then by continuing learning you can explore new areas, find out what are your strengths, and find out what actually motivates you, or what is your passion. And it is important to just keep learning, not just stop at one place. He has done the all the certifications, like all the tools that he has mentioned. I know he personally he's certified. He writes his own blog as well, so I'm going to put the link to the blog that Alex writes. Although there are very a few articles, but I know he doesn't have that time. But all of those are like top notch articles, and there's plenty of things to learn. And I'm also going to put some of the snapshots from his Novypro reports from the reports that are there on Novypro. So people who are just listening to this podcast or watching this video, just go and have a look at some of the reports that Alex has put on the Novypro. There's so much to learn from that. So thank you very much, Alex, for taking time out, and it was a pleasure talking to you for the first time, at this level and in this way. So thank you again, and I hope to catch up with you very soon. And thank you very much to all the listeners and people who have taken time out to watch this. So make sure that you like the channel and you also subscribe to it, and I'll catch up with you very soon. Take care. Thank you, Alex.
Thank you. Thank you.